When productions come to me with the desire to hire me as a DIT, sometimes they'll give me a lookbook. And a lookbook, essentially, it's just a bunch of either photos that the DP has taken using either the camera that they're going to be using on the project, or they went out with their DSLR and they took a few photos, or they just did a Google search for certain images, or they watched a movie and they look for screen captures or take some screen captures. Basically anything that visually represents what it is that they want to capture in camera and make sure that once they deliver the project that they can get those specific looks. Like a good example would be like Sin City. Sin City has a very stylized look. You have to have the ability to not only light it correctly, but to light it correctly with green screen and the ability to drop it into black and white and make it look like it did. So to do those tests beforehand and to have those visual representations of like old 1950s and 1940s film noir films probably helped that DIT a lot in figuring out what he needed to do to give them the look that they were going for. When I'm prepping for a shoot, I'll talk to the DP and sometimes the director if I have access to find out what look they're going for. This way I know what to try and color correct, what to look for in the footage when they give me the footage. So like sometimes they'll send me kind of like a lookbook, so I'll be able to go through and be like, okay, well, they're looking for something kind of dark and moody. They're looking for something where the blues are very desaturated, but the yellows are very high, giving it kind of a post-apocalyptic type look. So what I'll do is when I get the footage, I will take those reference photos that they sent me and I'll try to almost match it and save both an image for them and a look for them. This way in post they could be like, okay, this is what we want to start with. They can load that look, it'll apply it to all their footage, and then they can modify it from there and bring it up, bring it down. Or the great thing about digital footage, especially with the Red and the Alexa, is let's say they decide in post they don't want to do that kind of high yellow contrast, then they can just get rid of that and make it a high blue contrast or something like that. So the look is really kind of just a sample for the director and the DP to be able to say, yes, we can get the look that we're going for, and then give that to somebody else and say, hey, this is what we're going for. And that lookbook really helps with that. There have been a few projects where I've gotten to go out, talk to the DP, go over the lookbook, actually shoot some test footage, create some looks beforehand. This way they've already got them set up in camera and they could just load them right as we go.
Maybe I'll offer a variation on what they asked for, so that maybe there was something that I thought might fit the look or the fit the job. So I'll present a variation.
When it comes to pre-visualization, I usually it's a very unique form of communications between the director of photography and the digital imaging tech. I'm the guy pushing the buttons. He's the guy creating the look in the image. By the synergy of the two, we're creating a look that is pleasing to him, the director, and myself. And I have the equipment to make that happen. He has the lighting and artistic values that he adds to it on the set, and the two come together harmoniously. The pre-visualization step in the DIT production workflow usually is on a day-by-day basis. It's usually day of operation basis. Sometimes we will discuss a scene in advance that's upcoming, whereby the DP may have certain lights that he wants to use, a certain contrast ratio that he wants to achieve, X amount of lighting. He'll come to me and ask whether or not the camera has the capabilities of capturing, let's say, a low light scene with minimal amount of noise, for example. There is that communication is important.
A lot of times in the commercial world, we just show up and the DP will say, hey, I want you to put this type of look onto my footage. That will be sort of adjusted on the fly as we're going throughout the day, the DP will come over and sort of see the look that I've set and say, well, that's a little too contrasty, make it a little flatter, or, take your saturation down a little bit. We'll do that on the fly in the commercial world. In the feature world, a lot of times there'll be a camera test, and that's a good opportunity for the DP and the DIT to sort of meld their minds together as far as what looks the DP is going for in his film. Is he looking for a super saturated, contrasty, very, very dark down type of look, or is this a comedy where everything's light and bright and very sort of flatly, softly lit? There's a lot of different styles. A lot of DPs work with a lot of sort of different styles, and depending on the type of show that they're doing. If you're working with Janusz Kaminski or Bob Richardson, or a lot of these big time DPs, they have a very specific look in mind for their shows, and a lot of times they will do their on-set color correction, and the DIT knows exactly what he wants, and they burn it in, and then they'll send those files off so no one else can muck around with their image, and they won't even give them the raw image to play with. So some people are very protective of their image, a lot of DPs. And a lot of DPs in feature prep world will do some camera tests, and the DP will experiment with different color balances, different filters, different saturations, different color balances to get the look that they're looking for, especially on different actors' skin tones. A lot of skin tones can vary quite a bit in the range of magenta and green and red that they have in them. So they want to make sure that when they show up, that they're using the proper filtration on the lens, they're using the proper color filters on the lights that will make the actors and the locations look the way the director and the DP sort of envisions the film. On television pilots, a lot of times we'll get the actors for some camera tests, especially when it involves any type of hair, specialized prosthetics, specialized beauty lighting. It's very important for the DP to see the angles of the faces of actors. When you're shooting Faye Dunaway, she insists on camera tests on every single show. And part of that camera test is designed for the actor to size up the DP and to see what his sort of skill level is in her mind, and how easily it will be for her to manipulate the DP into what she wants.